Have you ever looked out your window and seen someone acting just a little too normal?
Oh, yeah, constantly.
Right. You know the type. The
Yeah.
person who walks by your house every single day at the exact same time. They're
Mhm.
walking their dog or maybe looking at their phone, and they just blend perfectly into the background, entirely unremarkable.
Completely invisible.
Exactly. But today, for our deep dive, we are going to explore why that totally unremarkable behavior might actually be, well, the most terrifying thing you see all day.
It really is.
We've managed to get our hands on a real-world executive security analysis and incident log. This covers May 30 to June 11, 2026.
Right.
And it is intensely focused on just a single residential compound. The data inside is, honestly, it's absolutely chilling. Our mission today is to decode these hidden patterns of behavioral camouflage.
Yeah, it's rare to see something this granular.
Oh, for sure.
What we have here isn't like a list of smashed windows or tripped alarms.
Yeah.
It is a literal masterclass in decoding pre-operational reconnaissance.
Which sounds super technical, but
Right. But we are taking this dry, incredibly detailed security data and translating it to understand how actual escalating threats hide right out in the open.
yeah.
It plays out less like a standard police report and much more like a psychological thriller set on a completely mundane suburban street.
It honestly reads exactly like a thriller. Going through these logs, it feels like reading the script of a heist movie, but you're reading it before the crime actually happens.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
The security team watching this compound didn't just sit around and wait for someone to hop a fence. They managed to spot these invisible, completely silent patterns of reconnaissance.
Right. They caught the buildup.
Exactly. And the first way they did this was by identifying what the report calls pretextual loitering, which is basically the art of the perfect alibi.
Yeah, so if a hostile actor wants to gather intelligence on a target like mapping out entry gates, testing window visibility, monitoring interior lighting.
And tracking when residents come and go.
Right, exactly. They can't just stand on the sidewalk and stare.
Yeah.
If you stand perfectly still on a residential sidewalk for 5 minutes staring at a house, well,
Yeah.
neighbors will notice.
Cameras will flag you.
Exactly. Security will approach. You need a psychological shield. You need a socially acceptable cover behavior that justifies your presence in that space.
I was reading this, and the first shield that jumped out at me was the infant cover.
Oh, yeah. That one is wild.
The logs detail multiple individuals using babies as a prop. On June 5th, a subject made 2 distinct passes by the property carrying a newborn baby in one arm.
Yep.
Then, just a few days later, an elderly woman stopped outside a street-facing window holding a 6-month-old infant.
Right.
And my immediate thought was, wait, holding a baby? Isn't that the ultimate I'm harmless shield? It feels almost, I don't know, paranoid to suspect someone holding a newborn of conducting tactical surveillance.
It feels paranoid because it's literally an evolutionary hack.
Wow.
They are hacking your neurochemistry. Human beings are biologically hardwired to view a person holding an infant as non-threatening.
That makes sense.
When you see a baby, it acts like a biological off switch for your amygdala, which is your brain's threat detection center.
So it just shuts down your suspicion.
Completely. Your brain physically stops scanning that person for danger and floods you with empathy hormones instead. You don't look at someone carrying a baby and think, organized reconnaissance.
You're like, oh, a vulnerable neighbor.
Exactly.
Wow. So the observer's brain is essentially forced to categorize them as safe before they even register what the person is actually doing. That is unsettling.
Highly unsettling.
And the baby isn't the only cover they use. There's an extensive reliance on the dog walking alibi too, right? Particularly late at night between like 23.0000000 and 23.30.
Oh, dog walking is arguably the most effective urban camouflage available.
Really? Why is that?
Think about the mechanics of walking a dog. It naturally permits you to walk incredibly slowly.
Oh, right.
It allows you to stop unexpectedly, change directions, and just linger in an area for minutes at a time without drawing any suspicion at all.
Because the dog is sniffing around.
Exactly. If a solo adult stops for 3 minutes on a dark street and stares into the distance, someone is calling the police.
For sure.
But if that same adult stops for 3 minutes while a dog sniffs a bush, they are just a responsible pet owner.
That makes total sense. Then there is the digital distraction, which is so clever it honestly blew my mind.
The cell phone trick.
Yes. There is a log entry here from the morning of June 1st about Subject A. He's walking past the property using his mobile phone. But he isn't just staring down at a screen.
Right.
He's holding the phone up, pretending to groom non-existent facial hair using the front-facing camera.
That is a classic spatial awareness trick.
That's so sneaky.
It really is. By holding the phone up like a mirror and facing the road, he creates a perfectly ordinary reason for his head to be completely tilted toward the property gates.
So he's actually looking at the house?
Yes, he is systematically scanning the pedestrian and vehicle access points. But to a casual observer, he's just a vain guy checking his reflection on his morning commute.
Unbelievable.
He gets all the intelligence data without ever having to turn his head in a suspicious manner.
So they have these incredibly effective, psychologically bulletproof covers, but they were still tripping over potholes because they are staring at the house.
Yes, the camouflage isn't perfect.
Right. The report notes multiple instances of them stumbling. Why does this camouflage break down so physically?
Well, it's not just clumsiness. It's a phenomenon called target fixation, and it leads to sensory suppression.
Sensory suppression.
Right. The desire to gather intelligence eventually overrides their baseline survival instincts. Their brain is literally rerouting energy away from peripheral vision and environmental awareness.
Just funneling all cognitive resources into analyzing the target property?
Exactly.
Let's paint the picture for you, the listener, so you understand the environment here. The street outside this compound is not a smooth, perfectly paved sidewalk.
Far from it.
The incident logs explicitly describe it as highly hazardous terrain. We are talking deep potholes, thick mud patches, loose pebbles, unexpected puddles, and heavily uneven speed humps.
It's an absolute mess to walk through.
Under normal pedestrian mechanics, how do you walk on a street like that? You look down.
You have to.
Right.
Yeah.
Your brain prioritizes navigating those physical hazards safely so you don't twist an ankle or step in a deep puddle of mud. But these subjects are so intensely fixated on gathering data from the property that they completely ignore the physical environment right under their feet.
Which is a huge tell.
It's like watching an NPC in a video game glitch out. A normal person looks down so they don't trip in the mud while holding a baby.
You would hope so, yes.
But these people have their heads locked onto the target like a heat-seeking missile.
And that glitch is exactly what trained security analysts look for. It's called environmental blind spot testing.
How does that work in practice?
Let's look at the dog walker on June 3rd. The log notes he turned his head 90 degrees toward the property and held that highly awkward, unnatural posture for a sustained 15 seconds.
15 seconds is a long time to walk blind.
It really is. He was walking straight ahead through mud and potholes, completely ignoring the animal he was leading, simply to maintain a continuous, unbroken gaze on the entrance doors and windows.
And it's the same with the individual carrying the newborn baby.
Yep.
They were navigating those exact same puddles and irregular speed humps, but the log notes they prioritized scanning the second-story windows over safely walking. They never broke eye contact with the house.
Even with the baby.
Yeah. Even the elderly woman with the 6-month-old infant deliberately paused and stood directly in muddy, heavily uneven terrain just to maintain a clear line of sight over the baby's head into a street-facing window.
Because the mission comes first. When you see someone consistently choosing target fixation over their own personal safety, the illusion shatters.
Right.
The behavioral camouflage completely fails because it contradicts basic human self-preservation.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
So they are tripping over potholes because they are staring at the house. But if they are being so clumsy and obvious, why not just look once and leave? I mean, why keep coming back and risking getting caught? If I'm casing a joint, wouldn't I want to space out my visits to avoid being recognized?
You'd space them out if you were just an opportunist.
Okay.
But these aren't random passersby looking for a quick score. They are executing a highly structured tactic the analysts call a multi-phase pivot.
A multi-phase pivot.
Right. They use a dual visit strategy within the exact same 24-hour cycle to build a baseline profile of the property.
Because they need different data at different times of the day.
Exactly.
Reading through this log, I noticed they break these visits down into 3 distinct phases, and it is incredibly systematic.
It is a memory-based pattern-building operation. Take phase 1, the morning phase, running from 06:25 to 08:35 a.m.
The morning rush.
Right. The intelligence target hierarchy here is all about daylight visibility. They're checking the structural integrity of the gates, looking for cameras, mapping the physical entry points.
And noting exactly when the residents leave for the day.
Yes, high visibility mapping.
Okay, so that's the physical structure. Then the log shows them shifting to phase 2, the evening phase, from roughly 16:25 to 19:55 p.m. Why come back then?
Because the intelligence value shifts.
How so?
Well, in the evening, they are no longer looking at the gates. They are assessing interior layouts. They want to see which rooms light up first when residents return.
Oh, tracking their movements inside.
Exactly. They are tracking the routines of the people coming home and observing exactly where specific vehicles are parked for the night.
Which leads right into phase 3, the late night phase, from 22:00 to 23:30 p.m. This one really gave me the creeps.
It's definitely most invasive.
Yeah, they are conducting an audit of room lighting, checking to see who is awake, who is asleep, and confirming the presence of high-value assets like luxury cars under low-light conditions.
Yes.
But what's terrifying is the intervals. Subject A returned after exactly 14 hours. Subject C returned after 11 hours, and Subject B, he returned after just 30 minutes.
And those tight intervals require significant effort and deliberate planning. It proves this isn't just casual curiosity.
Definitely not.
But it also raises an important question about their ultimate objective.
Yeah.
This intense, highly structured casing might sound like a professional burglary ring planning a major heist.
Yeah, that was my first thought.
But the data reveals physical anomalies that suggest something far more personal and unsettling.
See, here's where it gets really interesting, but also terrifying. I kept getting stuck on this one detail. If you are a professional burglar, you are expensive electronics.
Right.
You scope out the house, you find the blind spots, you get in and you get out. A burglar doesn't stand outside grinning, doing air mudras and shushing empty air. Doesn't this shift the whole threat model from a break-in to targeted stalking?
Absolutely. It shifts the entire threat model. The analysts note several somatic and ritualistic anomalies that pivot the profile away from commercial reconnaissance and directly into psychological fixation, fantasy, or targeted harassment.
The psychological overlay, as the report calls it. Let's start with the physical masking, because even that feels weirdly intimate. The dog walker on June 3rd literally used his own arm to hide his face.
The bent elbow posture.
Yeah, he reached up to pull back his hair, creating this posture that perfectly obscured his profile from the property while he stared at the house.
Very deliberate.
And Subject A, during his late-night visit, held his phone at an impossible 45-degree angle near his pocket. He had it on loudspeaker, so it looked like he was deep in conversation, but the angle allowed him to keep his head up and maintain total environmental awareness while hiding his face from the cameras.
That physical masking is their tactical side, trying to stay hidden. But the ritualistic gestures are where the psychology truly leaks out.
The gestures are wild.
Subject B and Subject C were both observed, performing highly specific hand gestures directed explicitly at the vehicle gates.
Wait, when I read this, I was picturing someone doing, like, yoga stretches in the street. The logs call them air mudras and puja mudras.
Yes.
What exactly is a mudra in this context, and why is a security analyst flagging it as a major threat indicator instead of just some weird neighborhood eccentric?
Well, a mudra is a symbolic or ritual gesture, often used in Hindu or Buddhist ceremonies. It typically signifies devotion, submission, or the offering of flowers to a deity.
Okay.
But in this context, why is it terrifying? Because it shows the subject is blurring the line between physical reality and their own internal fantasy.
Oh, wow.
They are treating the vehicle gate of this compound not as a physical security barrier, but as a shrine or an altar. They are projecting a narrative onto the property.
That is deeply unsettling.
It really is.
And it gets worse when we look at the predatory focus of Subject B on the morning of June 6th. At 06:25 a.m., Subject B locks a fixed gaze on a vulnerable female resident who is distracted.
She's putting on her shoes, right?
Right. She's balancing against a wall to put on her footwear just inside the gate. He stares at her for 8 solid seconds. He has a visible grin on his face. He adjusts his collar, and then he makes a shushing gesture with his finger to his lips.
That specific sequence of behaviors is a massive red flag. The act of adjusting his collar is an involuntary physiological response.
What does it mean?
It indicates a sudden spike in adrenaline and heart rate. The grinning demonstrates that he is deriving emotional gratification or a profound sense of control from the intrusion.
And the shushing gesture.
That points to an active internal fantasy narrative. He isn't assessing the physical security of the compound anymore. He is mentally interacting with a specific human target.
God. There are other bizarre somatic responses scattered through the logs, too. On June 6th, a known tenant walking past the property spat directly in front of the vehicle entrance gate.
Yeah, I saw that.
The log flags this not just as gross, but as a deliberate violation of community hygiene standards, almost like an animal marking territory.
Right.
Then on June 7th, Subject C was observed with severe facial tension and flared nostrils while mapping the windows, and the person carrying the baby. The log notes, they repeatedly rolled their lips inward until they completely disappeared.
And those aren't conscious choices,
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Lip rolling, the severe facial tension, the flared nostrils, those are indicators of immense cognitive load.
Oh, interesting.
It's a physiological response to stress and hyperfocus. Their bodies are experiencing a massive spike in internal alertness, which triggers vasoconstriction
Vasoconstriction, so that literally draws blood away from the lips.
and causes them to roll inward. Yes.
Yeah.
Their biology is betraying the fact that they are not just casually walking by, they are hunting.
All right, so we're dealing with a situation categorized by the security team as moderate but escalating. The report explicitly notes that no physical breach has happened yet. There's no forced entry.
Not yet.
Right. But the transition from passive curiosity to structured, multi-day surveillance, complete with these ritualistic gestures and stalking behaviors, crosses a critical threshold.
Absolutely.
So with the threat model verified as a personal fixation, what do you actually do with this intelligence? What are the actionable countermeasures?
You have to act immediately to break their reconnaissance loop. These subjects are feeding on data. Every time they look through a window and see a light turn on or watch a resident put on their shoes, they receive a dopamine hit. They are rewarded for their surveillance.
So how do we stop that?
The primary countermeasure recommended in the report is immediate leakage reduction. You have to starve them of data.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It sounds like target hardening isn't necessarily about building a physical fortress.
Not always, no.
Right. The solution to this highly organized psychological surveillance operation is surprisingly analog. The report recommends denying line of sight using heavy curtains, blinds, or one-way privacy film on all street-facing windows.
Which is incredibly effective.
It entirely neutralizes their primary window scanning tactic. It's about data deprivation. Closing the blinds is basically turning off the Wi-Fi for their intelligence gathering.
Turning off the Wi-Fi is the perfect analogy. If they look at the house and get zero feedback, no lights, no movement, just a blank facade, the psychological reward vanishes and the intelligence gathering stalls.
Wow.
The second critical countermeasure is enforcing strict gate discipline. The pedestrian and vehicle gates must be locked and fully closed at all times.
Because if a gate is left open even an inch.
It allows passersby to map internal vehicle placement and identify the visual blind spots of the property.
They also recommend visible target hardening, like putting up bold 247 CCTV signage. But it isn't just about having cameras mounted on the wall, it's about optimizing them.
Yes, the 15 to 30-second window.
Exactly. The report specifies adjusting the camera angles and focus to capture high-definition facial detail, specifically during that critical window when the subjects pause to look or slow down.
You want the cameras tuned to capture the glitch we talked about earlier.
Right.
And perhaps most importantly, we have to address the human element, varying routines.
Oh, yeah.
The female resident who was targeted by subject B is specifically advised to change her departure and arrival times constantly.
Which is so important.
She is instructed to avoid performing vulnerable, stationary routines like balancing, to put on her shoes, in plain view of the street gate. Predictability is the absolute enemy of security.
Think about how many times you've walked past a parked car at night and checked your reflection in the window.
All the time.
Now imagine the guy doing that is actually using the reflection to count the cameras on your porch. It's wild to think about how much data we broadcast simply by living our daily lives on a predictable schedule.
It really is.
This entire analysis took the most mundane activities, walking a dog, holding a baby, checking a phone, and revealed them as highly effective weapons of surveillance.
It forces a complete paradigm shift in how we observe our surroundings. We are socially conditioned to look for obvious cinematic threats.
Like a guy in a ski mask.
Exactly. We look for someone in a ski mask or someone aggressively rattling a locked gate. But true pre-operational reconnaissance is designed to be invisible.
Hiding in plain sight.
It relies entirely on your brain relying on heuristics, mental shortcuts, to filter the behavior out as normal background activity.
We started this deep dive by looking at the art of the alibi, the social shields like the infant cover that biologically force us to look away.
Right.
We move through the glitch in the matrix, where the obsession with the target physically overrides the human instinct to just look down at a muddy, pothole-filled road.
The target fixation.
Yeah. We unpacked the 24-hour multi-phase pivots that prove this isn't a random occurrence, but an organized operation. And finally, we descended into the truly unsettling psychological markers, the grins, the mudras, the shushing gestures that turn a simple security flaw into a deeply personal, terrifying fixation.
It is a profound reminder that the absence of a broken window or a blaring alarm doesn't mean you aren't being watched.
That's a scary thought.
Surveillance leaves a footprint, but it is a behavioral footprint, not a physical one. By the time a physical breach actually occurs, the operation has already been in motion, hiding in plain sight for days or even weeks.
And that leaves us with a rather chilling thought for you to mull over as you go about your day. Think back to the analogy of reading the heist script before the crime.
Yeah.
A broken lock or a shattered window is easy to see, but the subtle hesitation in a step, a neighbor pausing just a few seconds too long by your driveway, that requires you to truly pay attention to the behavioral footprints around you.
You really have to stay alert.
So the next time you look out your window, ask yourself, what if the most dangerous things in your daily life are the ones perfectly designed to look completely ordinary? Who is the dog walker or the exerciser on your own street that your brain has simply stopped paying attention to?
Keep your eyes open.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious and stay safe.